sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the ASAP Afternoon Blitz, Friday, June 23rd, 2023. Ready for a good weekend, man. This week's been a pretty good week, but man, hopefully have a good weekend this weekend. Got a lot of pro wrestling shows tomorrow, two tomorrow, one Sunday, so it's gonna be a busy weekend. So I'm sure I'll be hurting like a.
Hey, so what you're telling me, hey, so if I understand you right, so when you do this wrestling Saturday and Sunday, there's not going to be an afternoon show come Monday because you're going to be in traction.
There'll be one. I'll probably be feeling a little rough, but no. I'm Chris Gonzalez. He's Jay McLovin. Thanks for joining us. How you doing today, Jay?
Hey, I am doing ecstatically well. We had a really, I thought, pretty good draft last night. I think for the Rockets. I also think for the Pacers. You guys, I thought drafted really well. There was a lot of hits and misses, I think, in the draft. But overall, man, it was a fun experience. I know we're going to talk about it. But I want you guys to know, I promise you, let me tell you what Monday's going to look like. I'm gonna be sitting around waiting on Gonzo to put the link out, and then I'm gonna page Gonzo, and Gonzo's gonna say, "Yo, Jay, I can't get up, man. I can't feel my feet." And then I'm gonna say, "Okay, man, let's just take the day off. We'll come back on Tuesday. We'll hit it right back up." And he's like, "Okay, Jay, I hope I feel better." So I hope you feel better too, Gonzo. And that's how that conversation's gonna happen. So call me wrong. If you're easy money, if you watch Easy Money with Gonzo Sports Betting, I'm putting that out there right now. The over and under is going to be quite extensive. I think about 450 over.
Nah, we'll be okay. No, NBA draft was interesting. There was a few players I thought slid down way too far.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A couple of them really surprised me. Of course, I'm a Pacer fan. I thought we had a good draft. Even though I would have liked to seen them take Trace Jackson Davis there in the second round when we had a couple opportunities to. He's a player. I don't know how in the hell he fell to 58 in the draft. Dude was named the best power forward in the country. Dude was one.
I don't understand that.
Right there for best player for Big Ten Player of the Year, which is one of the best basketball conferences. But because he's not an outside shooter, you pass up on him. He shot almost 70% from the floor. He's a rebounder. He can play defense. He can run the floor. He needs to develop his shot a little bit more, especially from the outside. But man, I'll tell you what, the Golden State Warriors got a steal getting him at 58 in the draft, and he's going to help the Warriors because of his size. He can run the court. He's a real good passer from the post. So I mean, he can help facilitate as well. I thought the Warriors got a steal there at 58. And then another guy I couldn't believe, Jay, before we start talking about the guys that got drafted at the top of the draft, Sonogo from Connecticut. That dude was dominant. He didn't get drafted.
Yeah, he didn't even go.
I know he'll get a chance somewhere as an undrafted free agent, but how does a dude with his kind of talent and athleticism, he can be a defensive wrecker as well, and he don't even get drafted? I mean, that really blew my mind. And then of course Whitmore falling to where he fell.
It was like a godsend just landed in the Rockets and Udaka's lap. I mean, it was incredible. Now, you kind of confused me, though, because I watched that draft, and the Bucks drafted at 58. Did I miss something there?
Yeah, well, originally on there, it was either 57 or 58 that he went. I might have been, but he went in the.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. It was. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, you're right. It was 57 because it was that's what messed me up was it was the Wizards that took him. But then he got traded to
Well,
Golden State.
Yeah, but then on ESPN, they were showing that pick was going to the Phoenix Suns. So at first, I thought
You're right. That's right.
Because they were saying Washington Wizards, but proposed trade to the Suns. So I thought he was going to the Suns, and then I realized that he went to the Golden State Warriors. So I said, well, that's a good pickup for the hell of a pickup for the Suns. But
yeah, and then find out it's actually going to Golden State was crazy. But yeah, that whole Whitmore, the fact that because I thought Whitmore. Excuse me. I thought he was, top 10 talent, 6, 7, somewhere in there, and the fact that he went all the way down to like 20th, I was like, damn. I guess the basketball gods are shining upon us,
They said that was because of interviews. I guess he didn't do good in the interview process, and I guess that's why teams shied away from him. That is crazy to me.
Well, I don't care about an interview because an interview don't mean he can make a basket. I want to look, what he does on the court, that's the only damn interview I need. How he plays with his teammates, that's the only interview I need. Because some people just don't interview well. I'm one of those guys. Look, I can talk my head off, but sometimes when I interview, sometimes I don't interview well. So I don't know, man. That's some bullshit. That's why you slid.
Okay. Jay Billis and JJ Redick were both couldn't believe that he was still sliding, but then I can't remember if it was Jay Billis or if it was Woj that got on there and said that they had heard that it was because that most of it was because of interview stuff, and I'm like, you guys are, hey.
Did you see what Mike said? Hey, Mike, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I was kind of shaking my head on some of those Bulls. And I was also shaking my head at some of the Nuggets. They took Pickett, I think, way too early. I think Pickett I thought they could have waited a few more or traded back if they really wanted Pickett that bad. There was some head scratchers, I thought, in that, Gonzo.
So I didn't have a problem with them taking Pickett there. I actually think he's going to fit in good with them and what in their system and with what they need. So I didn't have a big problem with that. But yeah, there was some teams that was up and it's like, why are you guys picking him at that spot?
Right.
And actually,
and Mike was saying he couldn't believe that the Hornets skipped on Scoot, and I think Scoot probably would have been a better choice for them at 2. But I had a feeling they were going to take Miller, especially when we had Jeremy Green on there. When I was talking with him about it, he made some really good points, and so I think the biggest thing for me with Miller going at number 2 is just his reputation, man. Now I understand people make mistakes and stuff like that. But when you're going that high in the draft, I want a little bit more comforted feeling that I know that this guy is not going to make some kind of boneheaded mistake when I draft him because that could cost me a lot, a.k.a. John Morant. I need a little bit more assurance when I'm drafting at that number 2 spot that this guy's not going to go left.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think that if you look like in his history and stuff, before that happened, he'd never really had anything, and then he's had that and nothing else. So I think a lot of the teams were looking at it like it was maybe a one-time thing where he just made a terrible decision. You know what I mean? Because everybody makes a mistake and makes a bad decision, but
I get that. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully it's just a one-off.
That's going to happen over. But I think with him not having a bunch of stuff happen before that, you know what I mean? He don't have a long list of stuff that's happened. I think that's what kind of helped him. I thought Scoot would probably go 2, but then I started hearing things, and then you looked at the draft odds, man, and. Yesterday morning, Scoot shot up to like a minus 300 favorite to be the number 2 pick, and they had Miller the number 2 as a favorite for that. And then about half hour before the draft last night, all of a sudden, Brandon Miller was back up to like minus 400 to be the number 2 pick because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I actually changed it right before we done Unscripted last night. I changed it because I had Scoop at 2, and then I looked at before we got on air. I looked at the odds, and I saw that they had flipped real big again. So I switched it and put Miller back.
I wish you would have just kept it right there the first time. That way you would have been 4 or 5-2. It's just my luck, man. I can't win a lot of times. I'm glad I didn't put no money on this, but it is what it is.
Let's see, Glenn. I'm trying to find that out for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me because if the Reds games during the week this week had bigger crowds. So I told that I figured that the crowds was going to be real big this weekend. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Reds and Braves is a sellout. I haven't seen anything about it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Man, when you got two teams that have these kinds of streaks going on, both of them are top of their division, that has to be a sellout. Hell, I would go. I'm not even a Braves or Reds fan, but I would go to that game just to see whose streak is going to continue.
Well, they played at noon the other day. I think it was either a Tuesday or no,
yeah.
it was Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon they played that game started at 12:35. And dude, it was freaking a lot of fans there for a 12:35 game during the week. You know what I mean? Them games, because people are at work and everything. You don't get
that's such a weird to have an early game like that on the weekday.
Yeah, it was on Wednesday, and dude, they had a pretty good sized crowd then, so I figured they were going to get big crowds this weekend. But
I wonder how many people that went to that game called out sick.
But yeah, dude. Well, and the Reds do this telethon thing where they give away or not give away, but you donate to, and I forget what charity it goes to, and then they have these packages you buy and the money.
Right,
dude. They sold out of all the packages they had in 30 minutes into this thing, 30 to 45 minutes into this thing.
That's amazing.
And had to shut it down. That was on Monday or Tuesday of this week. I mean, the buzz around the Reds right now is just it's pretty awesome. It hasn't been like that in a long time, so it's cool. But
like you said, they haven't had an 11-game winning streak in 66 years, so I got to imagine there probably is going to be some buzz around that.
If we win the day, it'll be our first 12-game winning streak since 1940.
Oh, jeez! I think the only one that was alive during that time period was Tony.
But it's still hard for me to believe that the Big Red Machine in the 70s, or even the Reds that won the World Series in the 90s, that beat Oakland in the 90s.
Right.
In 90, I mean, none of them teams had an 11-game win streak. That is just that's unbelievable to me. You would have thought, especially the Big Red Machine, how dominant they were for multiple years there in the 70s. You'd have thought they would have had some 11-game win streaks somewhere within their run.
Didn't Pete Rose get a ring with you guys during his tenure, or is that he did, right?
Yeah, he was part of the Big Red Machine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I was trying to remember all my Pete Rose history. I knew he played for the Reds, and I think did Pete Rose play for the Phillies for a little bit too? For a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Rose, you had Johnny Bench, Concepcion. Griffey, they had a
Bench. Could you imagine playing with Johnny Bench? Wow. Seriously, that's crazy to me.
That's the guy. I'm getting ready to get him on my leg, part of my sleeve with Pete Rose and the Mr. Red Leg guy.
Well, Johnny Bench and Pete Rose would be good company for a tattoo, especially as a Reds fan. No doubt about it, man.
I already have Pete Rose. Johnny Bench is getting ready to get added, and I'm adding another. Oh yeah, Tony Perez as well was on that team. But then I'm gonna add another. I got another little spot that has some room to do something. I'm gonna put the center field scoreboard.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
And then the other side where there's a little gap is going to be all the years that they won the World Series.
I thought about doing an Astros tattoo, and I still probably will do an Astros tattoo eventually. I thought about doing one with Nolan Ryan and the Astrodome because they don't play the Astrodome no more. But that was at the time when the Astrodome was built. I mean, it was the heyday it was the stadium of its heyday, right? So I thought about doing like a Nolan Ryan, Mike Scott, and the Astrodome tattoo. I still may do that. I got to convince the wife to give me some money to go get a tattoo.
Yeah, that's why I haven't got mine finished yet. Right now, I have the red mascot, the red leg, and then I also have the I have Pete Rose, and then I'm wanting to get some other stuff, but I gotta wait till I have the funding.
Hey, hey, tattoos ain't cheap, man. I'll tell you right now, tattoo. Hey, especially if you go to a good artist. I mean, you can probably go get a run of the mill artist with decent, hourly whatever rates. But if you want a really good tattoo artist, yeah, you're gonna spend a little bit of money. But you know what? Hey, but it's going on your leg for life, so you better get some good ink done.
Yeah.
Don't be getting that jailhouse tattoo, Gonzo. If I see you some jailhouse tattoo shit.
Oh no.
Hey, there's only one E in red. So I don't know why you put two. What a time to be alive, man. Oh man. Oh, what a time. Yeah, but honestly, I thought that the Trailblazers going with Scoot Henderson at number 3. I thought there was probably the 2 easiest picks in the draft ever. Was 1 with Wembanyama and number 3 with Scoot Henderson. I mean, you weren't going to be wrong. I mean, that was just those were easy decisions. I felt like 2, 4, and 5, even 6 were a little bit more complicated, because there's a lot more variables. But that 1 and 3, definitely those were easy picks, right?
Yeah. Other than knowing just what order when it came to 2 and 3, because I mean, some people still, people thought Henderson was going to be 2, but like I said, it kept flip flopping, which was kind of was a little strange because I mean it's like, hey, but it's part of the draft. Everybody tries to keep everybody guessing, and
right.
don't want people to know who you're taking. Like I said,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I think the Blazers getting Scoot Henderson at 3 really was an advancement in their. I don't want to say rebuilding, but definitely putting components around Damian Lillard to be competitive was amazing because now you got a good playmaker, a really good unique athlete in Scoot Henderson that they're going to pair up along Shaedon Sharpe. And then you throw in Damian Lillard into the equation. They're really advancing this team. I mean, they had 1 or 2 key free agents, and Portland could be really intriguing come next or come next season. But I thought it was an excellent pickup for Portland in terms of making them, adding 2 competitive pieces there to their team.
No, I agree. And then, like the Pacers, man, I like what the Pacers done. Getting Walker. Walker fits into what we need. We need somebody who can rebound, play defense. He can score as well. I'm not saying he can't, but we needed a guy that can play physical like he can. Because that's where we really struggled was rebounding and defensively. We struggled a lot last year there. So I like the Walker pick. It surprised me at first because the way they done it because they drafted the other guy and then traded him to Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and then
it was.
And then Washington drafted Walker, which was basically the Pacers pick, but the Pacers got a couple picks out of that. So I mean they got something out of that. I heard some fans complaining, why do the Pacers get these draft picks and then all they do is either trade them away and help other do favors for other teams because they were mad that they didn't just pick Walker at 7. They were mad that they flipped it. It's like, why the hell are you mad if they picked Walker at 7? You get Walker. Right. They still got Walker. They got the guy they wanted, and they got the guy they wanted.
Yeah, and I don't understand that when you get the guy you want and you get 2 additional picks.
Yeah, what is there to be mad about?
Hey, if anything, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. And again, when you're picking down around 7 or 8, you're looking at probably second tier type players, unless sometimes they can develop into more than just second tier. But in this draft, those were second tier guys, and then not only do you get a good second tier guy, but then you pick up capital for next draft. I don't know how you beat that. I thought that was probably one of the best moves of the draft, because it wasn't something that was easy, like picking Wembanyama or picking Scoot Henderson at 3. I mean, that took some ingenuity. It took creativity to do that at 7 and make 7 into more than just what 7 was. I mean, that's what you wanted. That's the kind of drafting you want to see out of your team.
Yeah, no, and with even with Walker, last year, Pacers took Ben Mathurin at 4 or 5, or I think it was 5. I can't remember. We had 4 or 5. It was in that range somewhere.
Right.
They took that Benedict Mathurin. I love him. He's great. But last year, he was one of the players everybody was raving about coming out of the combine, about how he looked at the NBA combine and at all the workouts and everything. And dude, that's who we got. And he ended up he had a great rookie year. And I'm looking for a big year out of him this year. Well, Walker's the same way. Walker is the guy that they were all raving about this year coming out of the combine. He impressed big time at the combine and actually raised his stock.
Oh, he did.
And the Pacers went with him. So I like the pick. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't thinking Walker was going to be available there. So I figured we was going to end up with Hendricks, which I was going to be from UCF, which I was happy with because he's the style player we need as well. But then we got Walker, so I was happy. Then they end up getting Ben Shepherd, which from Belmont, who can shoot. I thought Ben Shepherd was a very Pacer-like pick. I thought it was a good pick, though.
No. So it's a good pick. What I'm saying is, but that's the kind of guy that typically the Pacers would draft, is the ones like Ben Shepherd, the two-way guy. Needs to work a little bit on the shooting, but very upsided. Very, very Pacer-like type of guy.
The reason I like it is just for what you just said, a two-way guy that needs to work on the shooting a little bit.
Yeah.
We have guys that can shoot. We score 130 points a freaking game. Right. But we give up 135 to 140 points a game because our defense and our rebounding is fucking terrible.
Well, and it's interesting you said that. Again, he's a two-way player, but if he can improve on his shooting, then he can become a 3-and-D guy. And if he becomes a 3-and-D guy, well, now you're really cooking with some Crisco. Not to mention, you talked about defense. The fact that you got Jarris Walker at 8 when most people thought you would get him at 7, plus the additional picks. He's a very long, stretchy four guy, but he has great he's very, very defensive mind. Remember, this guy came out of U of H. I've seen this guy for a while now. Him and Sasser
play a lot too.
So he's a very defensive-minded guy, and the fact that you got 2 guys in this draft that are known for their defense in Shepherd and Walker, that's going to be amazing because you got some scoring, and you're going to get some more scoring. But the fact that you added some really good defensive pieces in there, and you got 2 picks too. What? Are you kidding
me? And that's why I also like
Mojave. It's amazing.
That's also why I also like Mojave King that they took at 47, the center, because of his length and his defense. I think he could end up being a good guy to come in and spell Miles Turner off the bench, and hell, maybe how he develops, we'll see.
Right. And either way, one of those guys could come off your bench. One of those guys is your starter. So I think you're going to have very good rotational, either on your starting 5 or coming off your bench. I think that's going to be amazing for you guys as long as you keep those core guys in there. The Pacers really have a good opportunity to do some things.
I'll tell you what, I know he was the 55th pick in the draft, but I really liked who they took at 55 in Isaiah Wong from Miami.
Oh, you're only saying that because I said it.
Oh no,
you're just regurgitating what I said.
I said it.
Hey, look, damn it! You better be original. Be original. I'm kidding.
Hey, the dude's a scorer. The dude's a scorer. I watched. Hey, you remember how big I was on the Miami team last year after I watched them whoop my Hoosiers in the NCAA tournament?
Well, there's a lot of people that believe, and I'm probably one of those guys. I told you earlier in the conversation that Wong really was a key piece in the resurrection of Miami, getting to where Miami was in the Final Four and so forth. So. And Wong, like I said, he's a good scorer. He was a good facilitator. So he's very crafty off the dribble. So I think you're gonna like that Wong piece. And again, they've already added the defense in those first three pieces. And I think with Mathurin and now you got Wong, now you're adding a little offense to that defense. And man, I really like what the Pacers are doing in terms of their draft. And this specific draft, I thought you guys did really well. If I had to grade your draft, I would give it a solid A, honestly.
That's what most people are giving it. I know, like the guys around here, the local guys in the newspaper and stuff. They had Isaiah Wong as a B plus pick. They had Mojave King as a C, but then they had Shepard as a B, and they had Walker as an A minus. So I mean, most people are right around that A range.
What were they giving him a C for? Was it because maybe where they drafted him, or?
This guy, yes. Now this other person gave it. Let me see what the other person. Because I'm looking at a couple different ones, but that guy, the first guy that gave him a C, he gave him a C. He said that he was real high on him, probably more than some people. But he thought that he ended up getting picked about 10 picks higher than why he thought he would.
Yeah, so they gave him a C just specifically on where he went in the draft. Not okay. And see, if that's why you're giving him a C, okay, whatever. I'll take that. Whatever.
And then Doyle, who's been around for a long time in the Indianapolis area, he had this is a different guy, but he had Walker as an A, Shepard as a B. So, and then just people had Walker as an A plus pick. So, I mean, it's been most people, about everybody around here has been pretty happy with the Pacers. And even some of like most of the national people are giving the Pacers, like I heard, I know Dad was saying earlier that I think he saw it on ESPN, but they had the Pacers as the team that had the sixth best draft
right
last night. So, hey, I mean, that's not a terrible spot to be. I'd rather be 6th and 20th or 30th or.
Hey, like I said, man, I felt like, for what this draft was, right? We know this draft has been a lot shallower than other drafts. For what you guys, I felt like for what you guys got out of it, and when people are mad because you got 2 draft picks, well, think about it. You got 2 draft picks. It may be better off in a deeper draft rather than staying at 7 in a shallow draft. So you're actually improving your ability to draft in a deeper draft, hopefully later on down the road. So, I mean, I thought that for what this draft was, I thought they got the most out of it. It's like going on a Cornish game hen. They don't have a lot of meat, so you got the most meat that you could.
The problem is you get these fans that they're all they worry about is they want to bring in a big name guy, and
yeah. Well, sometimes the guy you draft may not be a big name at the time, but could become a big name. I don't know. Maybe Jokic was Jokic at 41 a big name guy at that time.
What I'm saying is, you get these fans, the fans that are complaining. Yeah. The fans that are complaining are fans that wanted the Pacers to take their draft picks, package them together, and go trade for a big star. Well,
right,
that don't always work either. And with the core you have right now, there's no reason to do that and blow up your core. You got a young core. We had one of the youngest teams in the NBA last year. You have a young core. We barely missed the playoffs last year. I mean, it wasn't like we were flat terrible. We barely missed being in the play-in.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that's a great season, but that's, what I mean? You could have a lot worse season. So with a young team, they were better last year than most people thought they would be. And they got off to a real good start, kind of fell off afterwards after Halliburton got hurt, and they can never get back in that rhythm when he came back. So why not add to that core, see what you got? Yeah, if a player comes available you think can help your team, okay, but you don't package everything you have and sell the farm for one guy. I mean, that's just
well, yeah, because you're not giving your team time to develop. Yeah, if you're not developing your team,
small market teams can't do that.
Yeah, small market has to develop what they have. In order to get better, they have to develop what they have. And look, just because you spend all the money or you get the big name guys doesn't guarantee you a championship either.
The small market, you got to build your core, and then when you get your good core and you're starting to ascend, then you can bring in a guy that you think fits your team chemistry wise. It's maybe a big free agent. You know what I mean? And add to your core, like we've seen. Well, Denver Nuggets, for example, they had their core. They went out, not saying they're big names, but they went out and added Bruce Brown, who ended up being a great six man of the year or whatever. Adding Katavious Caldwell-Pope. You add some veterans that can come in and help your team. That's the way you're going to have to do it now, especially with these new CBA rules. These new CBA rules that they are rolling out with these taxes, and you can lose draft picks if you're so far over the salary cap, and there's another tax level now. The NBA is trying to make it where there's more parity in the league, and trying to get better teams out at these small markets as well, because it'll help the product. So with them new rules, you're going to see a lot more of the Golden State model of building through the draft and developing your players.
Absolutely.
Denver Nugget model. You're going to start seeing more of that because of these new CBA rules.
Right. And that's a good thing too, because number one, your team is healthier in terms of cap space, but also you have a more cohesive team. You can have all the stars in the world. We've seen that, man, before, where you have all the stars in the world, but yet you still don't win the title. Because sometimes, having all the talent in the world, but not necessarily having the chemistry or the developmental inside of it, that can hurt you too. I think all you really need a good, strong coach that can build the team. And then, like you said, you have a good scouting department that can get you the right draft capital. And then, like you said, you grow from within. You build your chemistry from within. And that's where a lot of the time, that's where your success is. Not everybody can go out and just build a super team every 5 years or every 2 years or every 1 year, whatever,
No, I see what you're saying. I agree.
Crazy.
Look, I know it's a different sport. Look at baseball. You have right now. Well, we can even look at the NBA. You get the Phoenix Suns trying to build that super team. Look where it got them last year. Got beat around the playoffs.
Now they only got 6 guys on the roster.
I know that was later in the year, but look at the Brooklyn Nets kept trying to put back-to-back years trying to put that super team together with 3 big stars. That didn't work. Baseball, New York Mets are trying to buy a championship. The
Yankees have been trying to buy a championship for years, and decades even.
Back in the day, it worked for the Yankees buying championships. Here lately, not so much. The Mets, the Mets are one of the worst. Have been one of the worst teams in baseball right now, and they have one of the highest payrolls. And then you have teams like the Reds and these other teams that don't have great big payrolls. Even Tampa Bay Rays. They don't have. I'm about to say
Tampa's got to be one of the best examples of that.
And they've been the best team in baseball this year so far.
Even look at Baltimore. Baltimore right now is number 2 behind Tampa, but they're also number 1 in the wild card. So and if you look at their record, if you look at Baltimore's record, it's an incredible record. I think if Baltimore was in any other division outside of the Tampa Bay division, they'd probably be in first place. Other than the Rangers too as well, but. And these are small market teams, man, like you said, that have built from within and doing great things. The Tampa Bay Rays are almost all, for the most part, built from within the draft, Yeah.
Let's see. Greg says, do you guys think the Golden State gave up on Jordan Poole too quickly?
That's a complicated situation. I would say yes and no. I would say yes because I think Poole really never got a fair shake with Draymond there. I think they kind of hampered him a little bit. But I would say no, too, because it gets rid of $140 million that they can put elsewhere in that team. So, because he only averaged like 10 points last year, even though I know he was a good title helper in their title run. So I get what you're saying.
I see what you're saying, but I would say they didn't give up on him too quick. But some of that's due to the situation, but with their salary cap and everything. But the reason I'd say that is because the championship year, he was one of their top players. He had a big impact on that team. Last year, I know you had the stuff with Draymond, but if you look when he would come in and lead the second unit, even when Draymond wasn't on the floor, the dude was a damn turnover machine. Even when Draymond wasn't on the floor and he didn't have to play with Draymond, he still wasn't there. And if I'm paying you $100 million, you got to be mentally tough enough, no matter what the hell's going on, to be able to play.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Do you think that whole confrontation with Draymond threw him in a spiral that he just whatever wasn't strong enough, like you said, to get out of
about it. Yeah, I kind of joked about it yesterday. I said his brain was still rattling from getting knocked out by Draymond. He was seeing three rims up there and wasn't shooting at the one in the middle. But yeah, dude, I think that affected it. I really do. But if I'm paying you $100-something million, hey, you have to find a way to not let that affect your game. Yeah, it might affect you guys personally off the court, but when you're on the court, you got to be able. And I think that's one reason they moved on from him, because I think that them moving on from him, to me, signals that they're bringing Draymond Green's going to re-sign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I cannot imagine Draymond not re-signing.
And I know some people don't. I really like the Chris Paul move. I like the Chris Paul move. I think it was a good move. You're bringing a guy in that can run your second unit, that don't turn the ball over. Chris Paul don't have to be one of your main scorers.
He just has to facilitate. That's it.
Yeah, I think it was a smart move by the Warriors, because now it takes some of the pressure off Steph from trying to have to facilitate. And then when Draymond's out of the game, because Draymond is one of your top facilitators, if Draymond's not in, you can have Paul in to facilitate. I like the Chris Paul move. Now,
the Chris Paul thing reminds me of the Derek Fisher of the Lakers. Remember when Derek Fisher came back and he was older in the tooth?
Yeah.
But he was able, with his veteran leadership, to do other things and get that team to go where they needed to go. I look at Chris Paul as just another version of Derek Fisher in that respect.
But also, Greg, to answer your question as well, is I almost have to see what Jordan Poole looks like with Washington to know if they gave up on him too early. Because is he going to have another mediocre year like he did last year? Or is he going to go there and start and look more like the player he did the year before? You know what I mean? But the player I think they gave up on too quick was James Wiseman last year. I thought they gave up on him way too quick.
Yeah, they really, because he was out of the sport for a hot minute with all those injuries, so he really never had an opportunity to truly develop into the player I think that they were expecting. And I think if he'd had more time, either A, in the G League, or A or B, coming off the bench to develop, I think that that would have been better for him. But they tried to rush everything so fast and expect things out of him too quick, and he hadn't been on the floor but a handful of games between when they drafted him all the way up to when they let him go. He only played a handful.
Well, for one, he got kind of overdrafted because he didn't play a whole lot coming.
Well, that's true. That's true.
When you draft a guy that high, that puts that expectation that it has to be a quick return, and then they gave up on him. I think, and I'm going to say this now, Trace Jackson Davis, who they picked at 57, he's going to have an impact on that team this year because he's a big guy. He's going to help them defensively. He can help them rebounding as well. He can run the court. His only weakness is he didn't attempt. I don't think he attempted 1 3-point shot in the whole college basketball season last year. He don't shoot threes. But around the rim, dude, he was shot like 65% last year. Like I said, he was best power forward in the country. I think he's going to. I think that he's going to help them, and I think he'll help them some this year. I really do. I think he'll get some playing time as a rookie.
I know Greg says CP3 could work if he stays healthy. I think, to your point, Chris, if they could put him as a reserve coming off the bench rather than being a starter, I don't know if they're going to do that. But if they could have him come off the bench, that could preserve his health and get him through the whole season. So, or they may have to load manage him to get him through the whole season. So, Greg, I totally understand. Me and Gonzo were even talking about that when they thought he might go to the Celtics and stay with the Celtics. And we were talking about, that we didn't think him or Brogdon or Pritchard or whatever could make it through the whole season. So I think those same concerns carry over to Golden State. But I think if Golden State has him come off the bench, then that could regenerate or reinvigorate his career, or at least stretch it out for sure.
No, I agree. I
mean, that dude's 38 damn years old. I can't imagine being 38 years old and run around with all these young guys. I mean, you got to be in impeccable shape at 38.
Yeah. So what'd you think about the Rockets? I know you liked Whitmore.
I do. I thought for what they got at 4, they got the best of what they could get at 4, right? I mean, again, we talked about this was a shallow class. So I felt like Amen Thompson, Houston has plenty of three-point shooters. I don't think we were so much worried, but we don't have as many slashers or guys that can get to the rim. And he's got insane, violent leaping ability. The guy has, I think like a 6'11" wingspan. He's like 6'7", but he's got a 6'11" wingspan. So he's got some vert. He's got some length. He's a slasher. I do need him to work a little bit on his jump shot. If he could just develop a mid-range jumper or, a 7 to 10 range jump shot, that would certainly be beneficial for him. But I think at 4, I think they got the best of what they could get at 4. And in terms of what they got with Whitmore, well, we all know, we've talked about this extensively, that nobody could think that this guy slid all the way down to the Rockets in the mid-20s is where he got. I told you earlier, I felt like he was a top 10 talent. And we talked about his interviewing and lack of being able to interview. And if that's what caused him to slide, well, so be it. I'm glad he interviews terrible as long as he plays great on the court. But I would give that. I give the Rockets, I give them a solid A for what they drafted and where they drafted. I give them a solid A on that.
Yeah, from what they were saying last night and some couple other things I read, that's why people think that he slid down the way he did, was because of interview.
Man, Steven Stat Guy, which is getting ready to come in. Steven Stat Guy texted me saying, "I told you he's gonna get some Whitmore," and I was happy about it too. By the way, Dustin, when I seen that text come in, I was like, "Yep, me too." I didn't text you back because I think I fell asleep, but I was thinking that.
I told you yesterday on the afternoon show that
you did. You did.
He thought about trading out of number 4 down to 9 or 10 to take Whitmore and then get another pick later in the first round. So they pretty much did what they wanted to do, except without trading out to do it.
And I don't know what you thought about that, but I felt like what they got at the 4 spot and what they got at the 20 spot, and Thompson and Whitmore. I mean, for the 2 picks that they had, I thought they drafted well. And some of it was luck, the fact that Whitmore slid that far. But really, man, I thought that was good on them and the way they drafted.
Yeah, and Whitmore was the outside shooter that they needed. And that's kind of what they were looking for. And I felt once Whitmore slid past 14, I thought Houston might try to trade up to around 15 and 16 and take him before he left. But once it started getting to like that 17, 18 range, and they knew that the teams picking ahead of him weren't going to go after a guy like Whitmore, I think they were pretty much just waiting till number 20 to take him, because now you got a top 10 talent, but you don't have to pay him. You don't have to pay him like a top 10 talent.
Top 10 talent, exactly. And again, 2 things. Number 1, I also like Whitmore's explosiveness, and I like his power. Those are things that go along with the shooting that you mentioned that I really like in him. And number 2, it really preserves their cap. I mean, Houston's got like $60-something million, like probably one of the highest cap right now in the league, which really lends that money, will lend us, hopefully, maybe if there's some other key components we can bring in via free agency to pair with these guys, that could really be substantial.
When Whitmore was falling and he got there to around that 20th spot, I was hoping he was going to make it to that 26th, 27th spot. I ain't gonna lie, I was thinking, hey, first time they said a name, I was just hoping it wasn't his.
Hey, I've been like that too, and 9 times out of 10, it was always the name they called, the one that I wanted before mine. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Like you guys were saying, he's a top 10 talent, and he just kept falling. So I'm like, yeah, let him fall to us.
Hell yeah. I felt like that during the NFL draft when the Cowboys were drafting, and the tight end that I really wanted, I think it's Mayer, whatever, the tight end that I really wanted was there, and I'm like, oh my God, we're going to lose Dalton Schultz. Go grab this dude. Grab him now. And what they do, they wind up going with that defensive tackle, I can't remember that dude's name. Mees. They went with Mees. And I hate saying that name, and I hate even hearing that name. But that's who they went with. And I'm like, oh, God. Okay.
Well, I was, and even like I brought it up earlier before Stat Guy got on, like Trace Jackson Davis. I thought I was surprised that he fell all the way to the end of the second round. I thought he'd go late first round, maybe early second round, but I was hoping the Pacers would pick him up in that late second round. He ended up going to the Warriors, which I think is going to be. I think he'll do good for them because he don't shoot threes, but the dude can play. He's a hell of a player, especially down low, defensively, rebounding and scoring. and he can pass the ball. So I was surprised with him that he fell as far as he fell.
Yeah. I think even that one broadcaster that was to the far right of the booth, opposite of where JJ Redick was, even he was there was, and I don't remember the team that was drafting, but he was saying that Trace should go there, and he wound up not going there. And like you said, he went all the way down to 57. I think there was a lot of people that were surprised, just like you were, that he went at 57 and not much sooner.
Yeah, Jay Billis had him going. Who you were talking about? That was Carl.
Yeah, Billis. That's right.
He had him going a lot. He had him going a lot higher than when he went.
Right. Yeah, that was incredible. That was crazy. That was crazy.
There was a few players I thought that slid down pretty far from where I thought they went. What was your thoughts on the draft, Dustin? What was your thoughts on the draft, Dustin?
All I care is that the Bulls actually traded into the second round to make a pick. Otherwise, we would not have had a pick until 2025. So I'm happy they at least did something to get a second round pick. Jalen Phillips, I think, is going to be a decent player. I don't think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be more of that role player off the bench because he fits a lot of the same things that Patrick Williams does. I just think he's a little bit bigger and more physical than Patrick Williams, and he's just not as good of a shooter.
I know Mike Hughes was not happy with the Bulls' drafting process. He was, let's just say, less than excited.
Yeah, the thing that I do like, though, was who the Bulls got as their undrafted free agent. That, to me, I think is going to be even a more promising pick than who they got in the second round. They picked up, I got to look up the guy's names. I always pronounce it wrong every single time. It's the center that's out of UConn.
Sanogo.
Yeah, Sanogo.
Because I don't know how he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, he got the Final
either.
Four MVP.
Crazy.
He got the Final Four MVP last year in the NCAA tournament, and the Bulls ended up getting him as an undrafted free agent.
That was just like Trace Jackson Davis going 57. He was the got the Karl Malone Award for Power Forward of the Year in college basketball. He was right there for Big Ten Player of the Year. I mean, dude is a great player. I mean, real good player. And for him to go 57 is crazy. For Sanogo not to get drafted, to me, was crazy, which I had said earlier. I knew he'd get picked up as an undrafted free agent. I didn't realize that he'd already got picked up by the Bulls. That's a good pickup by the Bulls, dude. He's a freak athlete and a good defense.
And that's the thing, though. They're not going to have to even pay him like a freak athlete. They're going to get him on the for real cheap deal.
The same thing with Jackson Davis to the Warriors. I mean, they're
getting, absolutely
cheap deal. But yeah, Sanogo, I was him and Davis. I was surprised both them fell as far as they did, and I couldn't believe Sanogo didn't get drafted. I told Dad last night that he'll get picked up as an undrafted free agent, but still.
Yeah, the thing with Sanogo that I think hurt his draft stock a little bit is he's 6'9", 240 pounds, but they played him at center at UConn. You're not going to be able to play him at center in the NBA, and I think that's kind of what made him fall a little bit because not a lot of people saw what he can do at that number 4 position, especially when you look at guys like Giannis, Karl Anthony Towns, and a lot of these more freakishly athletic players now that play that number 4 in the NBA. I don't know if a lot of people think that he can match up well defensively, but he does get Ben Wallace comparisons because he's a similar size to Ben Wallace, and he does a very good job defensively like Ben Wallace did. So if you can get that with even a little bit more offense, that's a very solid pickup for basically next to nothing.
He's an athletic freak too, man. And he's pretty good defensively. I think he'll, as he gets in the NBA and gets more used to it, he'll keep developing defensively because but man, he's athletically, he is. I watched him a lot last year, especially during the NCAA tournament. I watched him some before that as well.
I think he can be like a Bam Adebayo, honestly, because Bam Adebayo is like 6'9", and he's a center. I think this guy could turn out to be like Bam Adebayo.
I just hope that if he does start to be Bam, that he can do better at not getting pushed around in the paint like Bam does.
Well, yeah, he weighs more than Bam though. Bam's only like I think 240.
Bam is not a big guy.
Yeah, this guy's 6'9", 260. So he at least has the size where people aren't going to be able to push him around as easy. That's why I think he can be like Bam, but he's just going to be, I think, more of an inside presence versus Bam's kind of more of that mid-range guy.
Right. Is his wingspan? What's his wingspan looking like? Is he got a pretty good wingspan?
I think it's 7'1" or 7'2".
7'1", 7'2". Because he's going to need that wingspan at 6'9". I don't like 6'9" centers. I never have like 6'9" centers. But
they probably won't play him at center.
You did play him, but what, 4 at the 4 spot?
Yeah, I think they'll play him I think he'll be kind of the 4 or the 5, depending on the matchup. Because obviously,
I don't know who you're playing.
I get the 4 spot. Yeah, you're right, Chris. It probably does depend on who you're playing.
Because if you're on a two-way contract, you can play up to 20 games in the NBA with the rest of your time coming in the G League. So he's going to probably spend, I think, a lot of time at that number at the center position in the G League. But if he ends up getting called up to the NBA, you'll probably see him splitting the 4 with Patrick Williams if they bring Vucevic back, because obviously Vucevic will be your center then.
And he's a good shot. He's a pretty good shot blocker as well.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. So I was telling Gonzo that I felt like the Pacers did a really, really good job of drafting Stat Guy with what they got. They got, like I said, the Walker pick swap from 7 to 8. Plus, they got 2 draft picks in a future draft out of it. And what they did was bringing in Wong and Shepard in terms of the defensive presence, the offense that Wong will provide. I thought they did really well, man. Matter of fact, I thought they did one of the best drafting in the draft.
Yeah, and I think the Pacers are in a position because they kind of were one of the surprise teams the first half of the year last year. And then all of a sudden the injuries started to happen, especially once Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. The team kind of went downhill, and when Halliburton came back, they just basically said, we're just going to kind of pack it in for the rest of the year, get a good draft pick, and kind of go from there. But with Chris Middleton declining that $40 million player option like he did yesterday, he's not going to get a $40 million contract from anywhere else. So I think now you're starting to see teams kind of look at the Milwaukee Bucks like you lose Budenholzer and you bring in Adrian Griffin, who's an unproven head coach. You just lost Chris Middleton, who is one of your best role players. Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez are 34 going on 35 this year. They're not getting any younger. I think a lot of the teams in the Central right now are looking at the Bucks and thinking maybe the Bucks' reign in this division is coming to an end, and this is our opportunity to build this team so when we're ready to go, then we can take over the division. I think that's kind of the mindset the Pacers had going into that draft last night because they did the best of anybody in the division.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was happy with it. I was hoping they'd take. I ain't gonna lie. I was hoping they'd take Jackson Davis late in the second round.
Hey, he really wanted Jackson Davis.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, I've been a Jackson Davis fan.
I think Chris is gonna be saying the damn sons of guns. Why couldn't they just draft Jackson Davis?
Well, plus it'd been cool too because his dad played for the Pacers.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, Del Davis.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting.
So that would have been cool. Plus, he played for IU, so that would have been nice. But no, I like what they did. I think getting Walker there at 7, or well, I guess 8 technically. But
There's nothing better than a hometown kid coming home and playing for your team, though. Honestly, I would have. I like Sasser. I thought that Sasser going. I think he went to Detroit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he went to Detroit. I thought he's going to give some toughness to that Detroit team. I felt like, Cade Cunningham and Ivy really aren't great shooters, and I forgot who they drafted. That Oscar Thompson kid. I feel like Thompson is going to give them a little bit more of a three-point ability shooter. I just wonder if he can stretch the floor or provide space on the floor with Cade Cunningham and Ivy, being that they're not exactly the quote-unquote, best outside shooters.
Yeah, I like Sasser, but I like Detroit. I think Detroit is going to build a pretty good roster, and then now you got Monty Williams over there as a coach. I think they have a good core of players going on over there.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say too, when we were talking about the undrafted players, Drew Timme was another one that I thought should have been drafted. The Bucks just picked him up today, so that's going to be a nice acquisition for them. But the one that I thought was going to be a late first rounder, which I don't even know how he wasn't, was that Oscar Tshiebwe out of Kentucky. I have no idea how he didn't get drafted at all, let alone even in the second round. And he's probably the top ranked prospect that has yet to sign with somebody, but he's a 6'11" center that was a double-double machine the last 2 years for Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think? What is your thought process on Detroit? They got a great coach now, Monty Williams. They brought in a couple of guys. What do you think about him?
Is Monty Williams a great coach, though?
I mean, I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, if your point is, well, he had really good players, he did have good players.
I'd say he's a good coach. He's a great coach yet.
He has a great regular season record, but I mean, outside of that one run in the playoffs where he made the NBA Finals, he really hasn't done much, and he choked away the NBA Finals that year too after being up 2-0. And
you're kind of a negative Nancy, aren't you? Gee.
Well, I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but he's definitely not worth the money Detroit gave him.
I'll give you that. That's a good valid point.
He's getting paid more money than Popovich. He's getting paid more money than Spoelstra. He's getting paid. He's the highest paid coach in the NBA.
Honestly, I don't think he should be getting paid more than Frank Vogel, and he got a bigger contract than Frank Vogel did.
He's the highest. He's getting paid the most money among any head coach in the NBA. He is not worth what he's getting paid. I'm not saying he's a bad coach because he does have a good winning percentage and he's a successful head coach, but he's not a $14 million a year head coach. And that's one of those signings that you just have to question, like, at what point do you be like, we kind of sold our souls pretty much on this one to get a guy that we think is going to be able to help this team. But if he fails in the first 3 years of this contract, you're stuck with him for another 3 years. Either that or you basically fire him and you still got to pay him. So Detroit's kind of put themselves in a position where they better hope to God this deal works. Otherwise, it's going to haunt them for more than the next 5-6 years. But yeah, when you look at their roster, they have Marvin Bagley, who was a former top 5 pick that they got from Sacramento last year, who started to play very well towards the end of the year. They have Bojan Bogdanovic, good outside shooter. They got Justice Winslow last year, James Wiseman last year, who I think is going to have a breakout year this year if he can stay healthy. They got Marcus Sasser. They still have Cade Cunningham. They have Jaden Ivey, who came out of nowhere last year. And then they just added Buddy Boeheim as a two-way player this year. So, I mean, Detroit's got all these young pieces. Now the question is, do they have the right coach in place to get these young pieces to play together? And I think that was ultimately kind of why Dwayne Casey wasn't as successful there the last couple of years, because you look at Dwayne Casey's history as a head coach. He was always very good with veteran teams. With Toronto, he had a veteran roster, and he typically made the playoffs with Toronto. He was with the Minnesota Timberwolves before that. He had a veteran roster and was doing really well with that roster. But then you send him to Detroit, where he had that veteran roster with Blake Griffin and some of those guys beforehand, got him to the playoffs. But after they left, Dwayne Casey really couldn't do much with younger players because he's not a coach for younger players. So you have to wonder if Monty Williams is a guy that can do that, because look at the teams that Monty Williams has been a part of. It's been veteran-based teams that have had players that have been in this league for at least 5 years.
That's true. Real quick, if I could make a non-sports related comment, Facebook, I hate you. How is it that I share 20 times and then you lock my account? I get it unlocked and then I'm restricted for an hour. You know what? Wait 1 hour, then I'm going to share 20 more times. What the hell is wrong with this damn country? Okay, back to sports. I just had to say that I just thought that was incredible that I share 20 times and I get locked. I don't get it. Whatever, man. Dustin, I blame you. I feel like this is your doing. I feel like you must have like talked to Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and said, you know that guy Jay McLovin, you should really screw him over.
No, I only do that to Freddie.
And also, oh, man, yeah, amen. No, but yeah.
Some of these suits that these guys had on last night.
Yeah, they were out there, aren't they? Hey, hold on. I love this last name. Grady Dick's costume is exactly what I thought Grady Dick would be wearing.
And when you're getting paid, what, $100,000 a year for your NIL money, why not spend $50,000 on the suit?
Hey, I don't know what y'all think. And we were talking about this in the group chat last night as we were throwing all the puns that could be made about the last name Dick. Dick's Sporting Goods, you know they gotta be sponsoring this kid. I think Logan is the one that put that in there. That's gotta be like an all-time first.
You got Dick's Sporting Goods, you got Dickie's Barbecue.
Oh, Dick's Barbecue. I didn't even think about that. Dickie's.
Yep, he's from Kansas. You know, Kansas City barbecue.
Oh, God.
That's why he had that. His jacket was an ode to Kansas. Yeah, because he's played for Kansas, but he's also from Kansas. So he's
a Kansanite. Is that what they call people from Kansas? Are they Kansanites or that's got to be a Kansonite or something like that.
Yeah, his jacket was supposed to be like the slippers off Wizard of Oz.
Freaking Grady Dick, man. That just goes down as the best name ever for a basketball player. That's all I'm saying. If I could give an A to them for drafting him based on his name alone, I would give an A to them.
Just saw that Julio Rodriguez committed to the home run derby.
Did he? I figured he might. I figured he'd be I'm hoping Alvarez will get in there, but I don't think he'll be able to because I think he's still out. I think he was out for like 4 weeks with that injury, so he may. I think he's probably going to wind up missing the All-Star game.
The thing with Julio Rodriguez, though, you pretty much have to enter it when the home run derby's in your home stadium.
Oh yeah, you do. That's true.
I think you're going to start seeing that a lot more now, where whatever team is hosting the All-Star game, that they're going to have like one of their players in the home run derby by default. Just because it's in your ballpark, you kind of want to give the fans someone to get behind that's their own. Unless obviously you're a team like Oakland that literally has nobody that's even worth being in the home run derby. But if you have at least someone that's relatively putting up good home run numbers, I could see like every year the host team has one of their own is kind of that. He's the host.
So you think we see Ohtani and Trout and Pete Alonso? I mean, those seem to be like staple guys in that event.
I don't know if Shohei will ever do it again, just because the year that he did it, it really messed up his swing the second half, like really badly.
Yeah.
I don't know if Trout has ever done it, and I don't think he cares if he does it just because it's Mike Trout. But Pete Alonso's the defending 2-time champion, I believe. You know, he's going to keep doing it until somebody knocks him off. And realistically, the home run derby's made for that guy.
No, I get what you're saying. Absolutely. I don't know if the Astros really don't have any true like home run derby. Alvarez was really our only kind of home run guy. Bregman, I mean, he hits home runs every now and then, but he's not really. I don't think he's really a home run derby kind of guy. I don't think Pena is.
Well, when you have the Crawford boxes, anybody's a home run derby type of guy in the home run derby.
Hey, that's true. Well, and that's the downside for the Astros. Really, is that Crawford box because, I mean, if it doesn't take much, honestly, it really doesn't take much. If you can pull anybody who's a good pull ball hitter can hit those Crawford boxes, I mean, you're going to get a lot of home runs in that park, right? I mean. It really is just even when you go to the park. Like when you go to the park and you see it like live, that's what I think you've been there.
Yeah.
When you go there for sure, I mean you can just see how close it is to home plate. I mean,
right field is different though. Right field is left field is 315 and right field is 326.
Yeah.
But the difference is you have an 18-foot wall in left field and a 5-foot wall in right field. So
yeah, it's not much.
You can hit a 6-foot liner that's going to get over the fence in right field.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's a hitter's park. It's definitely not a. You have to be a good pitcher, to pitch in that park and avoid those Crawford boxes for sure. You really do. Now center, we have a pretty good center field. Our center field is pretty deep. Our right field is not bad, but that, like you said, that left field side, man, it's crazy short. I think what's another short part? Coors Field. I think Coors Field is kind of small, isn't it?
Coors Field is deep. It's
350
down the line.
One of those. There's a park that's
Coors deep. Coors Field is deep. It's just a lot of home runs there because the altitude.
Fenway,
that's true. What about Miller Park? That's in your wheelhouse. Miller Park kind of.
No, Miller Park is 342 down the lines, 400 to center, and then there's like
so they got
kind of a little 410 insert in right and left center. But Fenway Park is 310 down left and 302 down right. 302 down right.
Yeah, Camden Yards isn't real deep either. It's just a little bit over 300 down the lines.
So Baltimore and the Red Sox. I mean, you're doing well to get a home run there because, like you said, it's got the short porch.
The thing with Fenway, though, too, it's 302 down the right field line, and it's a 4-foot fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have, I think, Yankee Stadium is only 314 down the right field line. You have Tampa. You have Tampa, I think, which is like 326 or 327 down the lines. I think the AL East, I believe.
Great American Ballpark's pretty good parks for home runs as well.
Yeah, the AL, if I remember right, the AL East outside of Toronto has the 3 of the 4 shortest ball, or no, they might have 4 of the 5 shortest ballparks down the line in the AL East.
Okay. Interesting. That's interesting. That's one thing. Like, I think you've kind of visited a lot of. I haven't actually visited a lot of ballparks in my life. I've visited. I've been to the Braves. I've been to the Nationals, and obviously Houston, and I've been to Texas, the Texas Arlington bit. Those are really about the only parks I've ever been to. I did go to Miller. I take that back. I did go to Miller Park too, a couple of times when I lived in Sheboygan, but. Man, I want to do that. I want to go on a stadium tour and start visiting like all these, great ballparks that are out there, man.
It's fun. It's worth it.
Oh, I know. I told you when I get my RV, I'm gonna grab up Gonzo and Tony. Tony, he won't know where he's at. He's old, so I'll grab up Tony. We're gonna go see some ballparks.
What you should do though, which I know one of my good friends but one of my old professors in college does this now, is he lives in California now.
Okay.
So what he does is he goes to every ballpark in California every year, whether that's the major league parks or the minor league parks.
Oh, nice.
Which, and I'm like, with you being in Texas, you have the 2 major league ballparks to go to.
Right.
I think there's another like 10 or 12 teams in Texas that have minor league parks that you could do 4.
Yeah, because they got the Sugarland team down there, and then you got Round Rock that Nolan has.
You have El Paso.
And some of the minor league parks are nice as hell. I mean,
Del Diamond and Round Rock is freaking gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, that's because they put some money. I mean, that's a Nolan park, so he's going to have money put into that park.
I mean, even like where the Indians play here in Indianapolis at Victory Field. It's a nice ballpark.
Right.
Fort Wayne Tin Caps have a nice ballpark.
Yeah, and then you have Amarillo, you have Midland, Texas, you have Frisco, Texas, you have San Antonio, Texas. Corpus Christi Hooks have a gorgeous ballpark down there.
That's right. I forgot. Corpus Christi has one. You're right.
They have a gorgeous ballpark. It's overlooking the Gulf and everything. They have a gorgeous ballpark down in Corpus Christi.
Wow. Man, I'm gonna start checking some of these dang ball. Well, I just got back home, so I'm about to go start checking some of these ballparks out. That was always a thing of mine. I wanted to go see ballparks, so I really want to go. I want to go to Yankee Stadium. I mean, Camden Yards. Red Sox, obviously Fenway. I mean,
yeah, compared to what you
Wrigley Field for sure with that ivy. I want to go see these old school parks, before they're not around anymore.
Yeah, Wrigley will be around forever because it's a historical landmark now. They can't.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, Wrigley will. You're right.
But yeah, compared to what you had when you were living in Georgia, I mean, you had Truist Park in Georgia for the Braves, and then you had, I think, 2 or 3 minor league teams in Georgia, but the only park that was worth going to was Augusta Green Jackets. Otherwise, the rest of the ballparks in Georgia were kind of crappy, but at least 6 of the 7 minor league ballparks in Texas I recommend going to. The only one that's kind of hit or miss for me is San Antonio, just because it's a very old and outdated minor league ballpark that was built in 96, so they haven't done a lot of renovating on it since it was built.
Right,
That's kind of like the odd. I mean, obviously, I would go to it just to say you've been to it, but that's kind of one of those.
What major league team are they affiliated with? That's not the Astros, I don't think, is it?
No,
is it the Rangers?
No, it used to be. They used to be affiliated with the Cubs a long time ago, and then they went to the Brewers. But now they're San Diego's affiliate.
Oh, San Diego. Okay. There's a ballpark. I think that was from the Negro League era that I think Major League Baseball is going to play a game in.
Yep, the one that's in Alabama. It's between the Giants and. I think it's the Giants and Cardinals next year. It's in Alabama.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they said it's like a really small park too, so that should be really interesting.
When you was in Georgia, did you ever go watch the Savannah Bananas?
I did.
I
watched Savannah Bananas, and then I watched it when they were the Sand Gnats too, which was the Mets affiliate back when it was that's at Grayson Stadium. There's a lot of people that have gone through that stadium. Babe Ruth went to that stadium. Kyle Ripken, I think, went to that stadium. John Smoltz went to that stadium. There's a lot of baseball players that have actually gone through Grayson Stadium. It's not a bad. It's an okay stadium, you know. I mean, it's not the fanciest, but it's okay looking.
Yeah. So Jay, the game that you're referring to is going to be played at Rockwood Field in Alabama.
Okay, Rockwood.
And the reason why is because it will be Willie Mays' 92nd birthday and the 75-year anniversary since he played a game in that field.
Oh, wow. That's insane. Okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah, when I lived in Savannah, I lived about 4 blocks from Grayson Stadium where the Savannah Bananas play. It's more of a, I don't like it now. Back in the day, it was good when they were doing with college players and college teams on that circuit. Now it's almost like a traveling circus show. It's almost like a Harlem Globetrotter kind of baseball thing.
That's what it's supposed to be now. I got to see if I can find you the link, but there's actually an interview on YouTube with one of these guys that plays on the Savannah Bananas now.
Yeah.
And he was really good in college. He got drafted by somebody. Ended up getting hurt like 2 years into his minor league career and just retired from baseball. And then he said, I still had the itch to play, but I knew I didn't have what it took to make the majors anymore. So I just gave the Savannah Bananas a call, and now I make $100,000 a year traveling around the country playing baseball for fun.
Isn't that crazy? I would take that deal. $100,000.
I'm not gonna lie. I want to go watch the Savannah Bananas.
No, look, Gonzo. If you want to be entertained, entertaining.
One night it's like 1:32 in the morning, and I'm flipping through channels.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm like, "What in the holy hell am I watching?"
And he walks around in a solid yellow suit.
Channels,
He's got some kind of derby hat on.
Well, all of a sudden, there's a guy up at the bat on freaking like stilts.
Yeah, he does his stilts thing too.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? But I sit there.
Yeah, I've met that guy a few times. I sit
there watching the whole thing. And I was like,
from a marketing standpoint, that guy is really, really good at marketing because he will fill that stadium up. And like I said, it's just goofy baseball. It's goofy ass baseball. And a lot of times they're not even playing baseball. They're doing like these weird carnival games.
It's like
on the field. It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. Kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters.
It's exactly like the Harlem Globetrotters, but for baseball.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I miss seeing that.
I've never heard of them before, and I'm flipping through one night. I was like,
the last 2 or 3 years is when it's became popular. I think it was after COVID ended is when they started like live streaming all of their stuff, and that's kind of what gained it. Like people knew about it obviously because they've seen it, but it never gained the popularity that it has now because they never had like the YouTube channel for it. They never had the TikToks. They never had all this stuff that they have now to promote it. And now that they have all these media outlets promoting it, it's so much more popular than what it was.
Oh yeah, and I even think that this Bananas got on ESPN. I think there was like when they were I think they talked about it on ESPN.
I know they're going to be here. Either they were just in Indiana or they're getting ready to be here in Indiana.
Yeah, they're going to be here. They're going to be in Wisconsin at the end of September down in Milwaukee.
Yeah, now he's doing the traveling. Yeah, because now that team travels now. I mean, it's good. It's good for him and his company, but for the city of Savannah, it's really not all that good. I would much rather have an actual baseball team bringing actual games to go see there than the circus show that he kind of turned it into. I get it. It is fun to see, but at the same time, if you want to see baseball, like real baseball, it kind of takes away from it a little bit.
I'm sure there's other options in Georgia with real baseball, isn't there?
Not around the Savannah area. I think maybe northern Georgia, maybe around Atlanta. I don't know a lot about Georgia in terms of that. I just know they had the Sand Gnats, and then if you went the closest one, I think is Asheville, North Carolina. I think has a minor league affiliate. I believe out there.
Yeah, the Augusta Green Jackets.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go.
You have the Rome Braves in Rome, Georgia.
So Augusta would have been about a 2.5-hour ride from where I was. From Savannah, Augusta's about a 2-hour ride, 2.5.
Yeah, then you have the Rome Braves. I have no idea where Rome, Georgia is.
Rome is up there around the Atlanta area. Yeah, that'd be about a 4 or 5 hour ride from Savannah.
Yeah,
that's up around where Logan is.
Rome,
I believe. Well, Rome, Georgia, not Rome like Italy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no shit.
Well, you said Rome. You said Rome.
You also there's 11. You also have the Gwinnett Stripers in Georgia. The Gwinnett, I think it's Gwinnett.
Gwinnett. That's still a pretty good, decent distance away from Savannah. That's probably still about an hour or so away. Because everything in Georgia, like Savannah, is right next to the border of South Carolina, right? So it's like right there in South Carolina, and then you go about an hour and a half south, and you're in Jacksonville. So it's right on the coastline in between Jacksonville and South Carolina border. So everything else is pretty much either west or north of Savannah, and it's always a few hours, right? So
that's like Chris being in Indianapolis. Everything that he wants to go to outside of the Colts and the Pacers is like 2 hours one way, 2 hours the other way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's the only thing about Savannah is the location. It just doesn't have a great location in terms of that kind of stuff, right? I mean, at least not in a Georgia facility, not in the Georgia area. Maybe a little bit on the borders, but not.
Good thing in Indiana with baseball is I have some minor leagues teams that are pretty close because you have the Indianapolis Indians and the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, and South Bend that's a little farther away, but I mean it's a good trip, but South Bend's about 2.5, 3 hours, but I can get Fort Wayne in a little over an hour to an hour, a little over an hour, depending on traffic. Indianapolis, 45 minutes. So, I mean, them ain't too bad. There's options there, but we don't have no Major League Baseball team. Which the Reds, I can be in Cincinnati in a couple hours. It's not.
Yeah, you have Detroit. You have Detroit, which is about like 2-3 hours from you.
Detroit, about 3.5.
Chicago's about the same, 2.5, 3.
Depending on traffic, sometimes it can take you 4 to 5.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
So what are your guys' thoughts on? I heard this the other day, but it wouldn't happen until the current Major League Baseball CBA is over. But to bring more attention to All-Star Weekend, Rob Manfred wants to have the Savannah Bananas as part of All-Star Week.
What?
Because you have the Home Run Derby on Mondays, with the celebrity softball game on Mondays. You have the All-Star game on Tuesday, and then teams still have that Wednesday, Thursday off. He wants to use that Wednesday off day as like a Savannah Bananas type of day in that stadium.
I think it's a good idea because it keeps more eyes on baseball during the off time.
I get it.
You don't have no games Wednesday or Thursday, and hey,
and you get them on live TV.
I'd watch it.
ESPN.
I think more people would probably watch that. I think more people watch that just because of the popularity of the Savannah Bananas than the Celebrity All-Star Game.
Yeah, and you would get it on ESPN too. So that's how they would get their national TV recognition that way.
Anything to promote the game of baseball would be good. So I get your point. I get your points of view. Makes sense. I mean, because baseball has kind of fallen off, there for a while on the relevancy train.
I think they've picked up a little bit this year with the games being a little quicker.
They had no choice
with the pitch clock and everything. I think that there's been more people kind of start watching baseball again. I really do. I haven't seen the ratings. That's just from like people I talk to and stuff.
I don't have an issue with the pitch clock. I do like the fact that the games are quicker. So I think that's a great thing. The bigger bases, I'm okay with even with that. Honestly, the fact that a pitcher can only do 2 times, trying to pick a guy off and then it becomes a balk. I'm good with that. Even all that stuff I'm good with. The only thing I freaking hate is the shift being taken away. I still hate that. I'm gonna hate that for my dying day.
I like that. I like it because
of course you do, Chris. Of course you do. Tell me something I don't know.
It don't have nothing to do with the Reds winning. It makes for a better brand.
Whatever.
Well, listen. It makes for a better brand of baseball to watch.
There's more action. When the shift was in play, you guys sucked. We take it out. You guys are winning.
I'm in the middle.
Like that.
I'm in the middle. I'm happy that it was taken.
Of course you are. Why would you not be in the middle? You're in the middle of everything. I
was going to say something, though. I hated when people played the shift when you always had that one infielder halfway in the outfield. Now, if you want to play the shift and have 3 guys on the second base side of the infield, that's fine. Put all 3 guys on the infield dirt. I didn't like it when you had that shortstop 40 to 50 feet into the outfield grass, so it was equivalent to basically having 4 outfielders. So a guy could literally smoke the crap out of the ball, get it over the head of the second baseman, basically put it 50, 60 feet in the outfield, and it was still going to be caught because teams had that fourth outfielder out there. That's the part of the shift that I hated.
I understand your point of view, but also at the same time, it's still strategy because, again, watch this. Left side. Even if he is in the outfield or 40 feet off the grass, whatever. If you can pull the son of a bitch, well, then guess what? The shift becomes your worst enemy if you're trying to use it for strategy. So, by that same token, also on the other side of the field, you have nobody. Yeah. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
That's the part that I hate. I hate that the fact that Major League Baseball players still can't adjust to using the other side of the field, knowing that there was people on the other side. But I was one of those people that said, if you're going to ban the shift, just ban the part where the player's in the outfield. If teams still want to put 3 players on that second base side, let them put 3 players on that second base side. And if someone hits it into that, that's their own fault. I always just hated that kind of the whole fourth outfielder situation because that's a hit on every single occasion if that guy's not there.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's just the reason why I don't like it. I feel like you're taking strategy away from the coaches sometimes, you know. I like the strategy of baseball. I understand people want to see base hits because when you bring the infielders in or whatever and you put them on the dirt instead of let them play in the grass, obviously that does lend its way to more, base hits. So I get that. But I also get the fact I think it's a defensive thing that you're taking away.
It'll have nothing to do with strategy. If the Astros was winning, you wouldn't be against the shift. You wouldn't be against
the Astros have fun. No, that's not true. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I'm messing with you, Joe.
Let me counteract. You know why that's not a valid point? Because the Astros are winning. We are not number one in our division, but we do have an above 500 record. So, I mean, we're doing good.
To me, it really don't take strategy away because now you got to use strategy, different strategy to cover the field.
To counter your
where you play your outfielders. How you can.
Chris, you're only saying that shit because you're winning. I'm telling you, you're only saying that because I will tell you it is strategy. Because like Dustin said, Dustin doesn't like when I could put an outfielder 20 feet into the grass because he feels like that takes away the shallow base knocks. But that's strategy.
No, I agree with that strategy. What I'm saying is there's even more strategy without the shift because you got to be better at placing your outfielders.
I think what you're saying is you got to have more athletic outfielders that can cover that much ground.
And where you position your outfielders for each batter.
Why do you think so many players have those
what I'm saying there's still strategy. I agree with you that the shift is strategy, but
I would say what you're saying though, honestly, Chris, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I think what my counter for that is, it is a little strategy. I get, but I think it's more athleticism that you need to pull that off than it is strategy.
Well, it's athleticism, but it's also because if you watched all these guys look at their cards and to go.
I'm trying to
play yourself in the outfield for each batter.
Yeah, it's more analytical now without the shift because if you ask any player, every player will tell you that they have 13 index cards in their pocket every game. And each card tells you exactly what each hitter on that opposing team does. So now it's like an analytical game where, yes, you can eliminate the shift, but you still have these little index cards that you can pull out and look at and be like, this hitter hits the ball this way and these counts 9 out of 10 times or whatever. So then they can still strategize themselves to be in a better position. But to counter your argument about like teams have to be more strategic when the shift is in place, managers have failed to be strategic since they put this runner on second base in extra innings.
And that's another thing I hate.
All you literally have to do is drop down a freaking bunt and that guy's at third base. Yeah. But yet these games are still going 13, 14 innings because they can't hit a damn guy home from second base and nobody else. So it doesn't matter if you take the shift away or not. Managers have proven they don't know how to strategize when you have a free runner on second base in extra innings.
Yeah, I don't like that whole automatic runner on second base. I know they're doing it to speed up the game, but I still hate it.
No, I loved it because I said what Chris said.
Oh shit, you love everything that I don't love.
No, because I said it was going to bring more strategy to the game of baseball because I'm like, if you put a runner on second base.
You know what? Hey, Dustin, I love a runner on second base.
Well, but this.
I freaking hate it.
Hear me out on why I say that is going to cause more strategy, though. You put a runner on second base and nobody out to begin extra innings. As the hitting team, As a manager, you have to decide, am I going to bunt this guy over to third base and give up my batter, or am I going to try to drive him in now and set myself up for a big inning? But then on the flip side,
let me ask you this. So they put the runner on second during the regular season for overtime, but they don't put a runner on second in the playoffs. Now, what the hell sense does that make? If you're going to do the regular season, why are you not doing the playoffs?
Here's the reason they do that. Here's one of the reasons, and this is the only way I can make it sense is they do it in the regular season, put the runner on because they don't want these games going 15, 16 innings because teams don't have enough pitching. Where in the playoffs, you want to play, you get the actual winner because it's a playoff series. But they're trying to
That's true. But at the same time, But at the same time of that, you have to do well in the regular season to even get to the playoffs. So sometimes putting that runner on second actually hurts a team to even get to the playoffs for that to even take effect. So that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like it.
Fan of it. I'm not a big fan of
it.
I
understand what you're saying to make it make sense. And look, you hit me in the forehead with the nail. It went through. I promise you. I got the point. I just hate the point.
Yeah,
I got the point, but I hate the point.
What I was going to say, too, the flip side of the offensive team having to strategize, the pitching team also has to strategize because you have that free runner on second base. As a manager of the team that's in the field, you have to decide, do I intentionally walk this first hitter to put two guys on and try to get a double play to pretty much put me out of the inning? Or do I take my chances and try to get him out without that run scoring? So adding that runner to second base actually causes more strategy on both sides because one manager is trying to figure out how he gets that runner to third to potentially set up a bigger inning, while a team in the field has to decide how to play it. Do we go for the double play and intentionally walk the first hitter, or do you take a chance and try to get out of the inning without walking anybody?
And you see managers mess it up both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are definitely some things that I like they've done, and there's definitely some things I don't like what they've done. And I don't know if anybody is ever really going to be happy with the way things are. Yeah. Everybody's going to like certain things and not like certain things. So
yeah, exactly. But as a whole, I do think they're putting a good I think even a little bit better product out for the fans right now because there's more action in the game.
You know what, though, Chris? The one thing that I was hoping that they would do and they haven't done is the whole electronic ump. I still want an electronic guy, and they're not going to do it next year. I'm
not big on the electronic.
They can't do it until 2025 because they got to wait till the CBA expires.
I'm not big on the electronic.
Okay, well that makes I get that.
It comes and I see how it goes. I might end up being. I might get on board.
The only reason I like it is because I feel like it takes away, inconsistent strike zones. Number one, and I think sometimes some umps favor other pitchers than I don't know. I just don't like the element of the decision making of a strike versus a ball when clearly damn good and well that ball was 2 inches on the inside, wasn't even in the damn strike zone, but yet he could call it a strike. And then one nips the damn corner and they call it a ball. It's just too much inconsistency.
You don't even notice it. AAA uses it right now, and you don't even notice it because it's the same situation with like how the pitchers and catchers use PitchCom. You know how they have that device.
Of course.
The umpires have a device, and all it does is if it's a strike, it buzzes in their ear and tells the umpire it's a strike, and they call it strike. So you don't even notice there's an electronic strike zone going on because the umpire is still calling balls and strikes.
But it's a consistent strike zone, and it's not left or right, up or down. You know what I mean?
And that's why you're seeing fewer ejections in AAA right now because you physically can't argue the call. Because all the managers know that it's an electronic strike zone. All the hitters know that it's an electronic strike zone. So whatever pitch the umpire calls a strike, it's a strike because it's literally coming to the umpire via electronically. The player can't sit here and argue like that's a ball because it's like, no, it really isn't. It's an electronic strike zone.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the ability to.
These dudes will figure out how to manipulate that.
Oh, they will.
These teams will figure out a way to manipulate that electronic strike zone to make it bigger and smaller. And
that's why I think they're waiting until 2025 to put it in Major League Baseball because they don't want to risk that happening. Where you can have like certain pitchers, like I'll use Greg Maddux, for example, a guy that manipulated the strike zone for how long because of how he pitched and like how he was always 90% of Greg Maddox's pitches were not strikes. It's just that he benefited from having a catcher that knew how to get him those strikes on the corners. And I think that's what they want to make sure doesn't happen when they bring this electronic strike zone is because if you have a pitcher like Greg Maddox that is so used to getting those calls, and all of a sudden you put this electronic strike zone in place and he's not getting those calls, how's it going to affect how players are actually playing in Major League Baseball? They want to make sure it's fair on both sides where if you have a pitcher that's consistently throwing the baseball in the same spot pretty much every single time and getting those calls because the umpire's like going based on how the pitch framing is going, that those same calls don't go away as soon as that electronic strike zone comes into play.
And I think you could have an unbiased Major League Baseball affiliate that has no bearing with either team that can manage the calibration to make sure that the strike zone is the same for both teams. I think there's ways you can do that.
That's what Theo Epstein's doing right now.
Oh, is that his job?
That's why he actually left the Cubs because he left the Cubs to join Major League Baseball's front office. He was the one that was in charge of basically the new rules this year. He wanted the pitch clock. He wanted the extra bases. And now he's actually in charge of configuring this electronic strike zone to get it the way it needs to be.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see when 2025 if it actually gets approved and they put it out there. I mean, I think that's the way of the future anyway. I mean, baseball has to elevate. Baseball has to elevate its game at some point. The pitch comm was a great thing. You know, to take it away the shit, the pitch clock. I mean, all these things are additives, right? Because we're growing as a society. And I think the next thing would be an electronic pitch clock.
Next year, the pitch clock goes through the rest of the minor leagues. So AA, single A, and low A is all going to get the electronic strike zone next year. AAA is the only one that has it this year. So next year, the rest of minor league baseball gets it next year. And then 2025 is when it's supposed to go to the majors. So it's kind of like a 3-step process. You try it in AAA first. If it works, then you go to the rest of minor league baseball. If it works, then you bring it to the majors.
Huh. Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. I would be. That's definitely one of the things I would be in favor of. Even though I know Gonzo wants the human element because he wants to continue to cheat and get that win.
Honestly, though, Gonzo, I think you can attest to this too because you've been to minor league baseball games. You kind of need it in minor league baseball because you only have 2 umpires. It's so difficult for 2 umpires to basically use the human element at a game. Especially when it comes to check swings, because obviously in the majors you have that umpire at third, that umpire at first. So check swing, you're pointing down to that first base umpire. Single A, double A, you're only playing with 2 umpires. So if the umpire is standing between first and second or second and third, how in the hell are they going to tell if you swung halfway across home plate?
Yeah. Believe me, I understand that completely.
That's why I think they need it for sure. If they don't ever bring it to the major leagues, I would be okay with it. But I think that's why they need it in the minors because you don't have 4 umpire crews.
Yeah, see, I've umpired baseball for 20-something years, and if you're not on the corners, you can't call no check swing.
Yeah, and that's why I always hated high school baseball too when they use 2 umpires and like you have a check swing and the home plate umpire is pointing down to the first base umpire who's standing between second and third. I'm like, how the hell is he supposed to see that? You have a better view of standing directly behind home plate than he does over there.
I've umpired a game by myself before with one damn umpire. That shit's crazy.
Oh, wow. That is crazy. Because you can't see every single thing.
Oh, but when you have little league games going on and something happens, people don't show up or whatever, you have to do what you got to do. I mean, usually we at least have 2, but there was a time where like my other guy didn't show up, and it's like, well, let's get this game going because I got 5 games. We got 5 games today on this diamond. We don't have time to stand around for an hour looking for an umpire. Let's get going.
No, you don't. You're right. That's a man. If you're umpiring 5 games, that's a lot.
I miss umpiring. I used to umpire 6 games on Saturday, 6 games on Sunday, 2 or 3 games at night, Monday through Friday. I miss umpiring. I loved it, but I can't with my body.
Especially if you love the game of baseball, man. You would love that for sure. I would love that, honestly.
Oh yeah, you had the best seat in the house.
Then you got to deal with those rowdy parents that think they know everything.
That's the worst part.
Unless you're the state of Oklahoma now.
They changed it. They changed it.
No, so the state of Oklahoma made a new rule for basically anyone that plays summer baseball and high school baseball, where if a parent questions the umpire or if a parent argues the umpire's call, the umpire has the right to pull the parent on the field and have them do it themselves.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, you like it so much? Well, then you get your butt down here and call these games. Oh, you want me to do what? Oh, no, I'm good.
Well, here's what was funny about when I umpired. Quick story. Umpired. My dad ran a league for 30-something years, so I umpired there. Well, like everybody there knew me. I would get more shit and more people arguing there. Yeah, I went to these other places because, like, for my dad, it was volunteer. I wasn't even getting paid, but I'd go to these other places where I was getting paid to umpire.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get hardly nobody complain. I mean, nothing. But you go umpire somewhere where everybody fucking knows you. Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get it on both ends.
It was just crazy how big of a difference it was. It's like I'm friends with a lot of these people, know all these people, and you guys are going crazy on me. But I can go somewhere and umpire where people don't know me, and I don't get no complaints, nothing at all. It's just baseball. It's just weird how big a difference it was from that.
Yeah, because Johnny Neckbone be like, "Yo, Chris, know where you live. Better call that shit right."
Well, people be like, "Oh, you're cheating for this team or this team." It's like, you guys these are little kids.
Blind. You better go get some better glasses.
This is no shit. I had a guy. I called his son out at home plate. His son slid in the home. I called about this guy threatened. He was going to feed me to his Rottweiler and put me in a 50-gallon drum.
Wow. Hey, listen, you got some issues. When you're talking about feeding the dude to some alligators and put him in a 50-gallon drum.
Feed me to his Rottweiler.
Hey, excuse me, sir. That's a little much, don't you think? It's just a baseball game. Calm down.
I started cracking up. Yeah, he was going to feed me to his dog, his Rottweiler, and put me in a 50-gallon drum because I called
you should have said, "Hey, look, let me tell you something. I'll get Scrappy out here. Scrappy will take care of your dog." I ain't worried about it.
At least you've never seen a guy get arrested at a high school game.
I have seen that. I have at Northwood. I have seen that, and it is quite comical.
No, because I was watching one of the high school playoff games this year, and it was a terrible call. I'm not going to say it was not a terrible call, but umpire called the guy safe at third when he got tagged out like twice before he even got to third. Parent gets up and starts screaming at the umpire and said if he doesn't change that call, he's going to go Jeffrey Dahmer on that guy and the guy's family.
Oh, damn. He went Jeffrey. And in Wisconsin, you do not say I'm going to go
arrested on the spot because he's like, I'm going to go Jeffrey Dahmer on you and your family if you don't change that call.
That's how you say a bomb at an airport.
How did coach tell me he was going to be waiting on me in the parking lot? I told him, I said, you see that blue car out there? That's my car. I'll be there 2 minutes after the game. He was mad.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty serious when you say, I'm going to go Jeffrey Dahmer or I'm going to meet you at your car. I mean, come on.
He got mad because I threw him out of the game, and he told me he wasn't going to leave. I said, well, you got 5 minutes to get off the field or your team's going to forfeit the game. I'm not. And that's why I'll be waiting on you in the parking lot. So that's my vehicle right there. I'll be there just a couple minutes after the game.
Did he wind up meeting you there?
No, he was gone. As soon as his team got done, they were gone.
Man, you got serious issues if you actually meet somebody at a car. I mean, that takes a lot.
Dude, I was the type of guy. If the coach wanted to chirp some, I didn't care. I didn't say a whole lot. But once you went overboard, I'd give you a couple more. He started complaining about every ball and strike, and that's why I told him. I said, "Look, I'll listen to you complain about different calls and stuff, but I'm not going to listen to you complain about every ball and strike."
Yeah, because that gets a little much.
I gave him a couple warnings. He kept at it, and I threw him out. And he said, "You can't throw me out." And then the guy run the league came over and told me.
Guess what? I just did.
Yeah, the guy run the league came over and told me he had to leave, and that's when he started going nuts. And hell, even his own fans were saying his own fans said he needed to be thrown out of the game. That was the parents of the kids he was coaching. It was the funny thing. But what sucked during that game was a kid on another team hit a ball and it went through the damn windshield of my car, a home run. I was parked like 20 feet past the freaking outfield fence. I didn't think that any way one of them kids was going to get one that far. I went out there, the ball was stuck in my windshield. So the money I made umpiring that night.
I tell you, man, hey, listen, I remember back in the day when I played baseball and football, and there were some heated moments, even on both sides. And I remember parents, I remember this one dude, he wanted to fight after the game, and I'm like, bro, it's not my fault you can't play football. That's your damn fault. Learn how to play better. Shit.
But let's get to final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm gonna whoop your ass, and when this show's over with, Gonzo, I'm gonna be at your house in 20 minutes.
I'll be here. Hey,
and I don't want to see Scrappy, and I don't want to see Tony out there either. You better not call Austin.
Hey, my dad's not here. I'm the only one here right now. So hey.
Oh man, what a time to be alive! I just think when parents get to that level, I mean. Like, what are you doing? Like, your kids see this kind of stuff. What are you teaching your kids when you're at that level? You know, I mean, it's crazy.
I've gotten thrown out of one game before.
Final thoughts. Hey, my final thoughts are: don't forget to catch me and Gonzo tonight on the late night show, and then obviously he has his afternoon show. Easy money coming up after this. So that. Good stuff. Make sure you catch it all. And don't forget, me and Logan will be live tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to talk NBA draft recap as well as some baseball as well. So make sure you catch us tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern PM on Unscripted.
Yeah, Jay, I've been thrown out of a game before, but it wasn't as a fan. It was as I was a coach, and I was arguing with the umpire about it. Because he was wrong. It was a pillable play, and he just called the guy out. And I said, no, you can't do that. That's supposed to be an appeal. And and me and him got into it, and then he ended up throwing me out of the game. But it was all right.
Interesting, man. Interesting. Well, I look, sometimes you're gonna get heated, but I mean, like when you get to a point where you're talking about going Jeffrey Dahmer, or I'm gonna put you in a barrel with like whatever. I mean.
I took the rule book. I always carried the rule book with me. I took the rule book out of my pocket and showed it to him. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to cause a scene. I'm trying to help you so you don't do this again. You shouldn't have made that call. And he threw me out.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Stat guy, you got any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate LSU for another epic College World Series game last night. They ended up winning over the number one team in the country on a walk-off 2-run shot. And now they're going to get
10 or 11 innings?
11 innings.
11.
I thought it was 11.
It was the third time in College World Series history that the game was tied 0-0 after 8 innings. And now they get to place number 2 Florida Gators. So we have an all-SEC College World Series championship. And you know how those SEC rivals go.
Oh, that's going to be a tight, fun game.
Yeah, and if you haven't been watching the College World Series, you're missing out on some good baseball. Not even just the World Series, all the way from the regionals on have been real good. There's been a lot of good.
And that starts tomorrow, correct, Chris? That game starts tomorrow, correct? Or didn't it start tomorrow?
Tomorrow through Monday if necessary, but otherwise tomorrow and Sunday for sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My final thoughts. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at GonzoSportsRoom and at the All Sports All Plays Network. Follow Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at GonzoSportsRoom and at the All Sports All Plays Network and at Unscripted as well. Also, don't forget tomorrow, June 24th at 3:30 p.m. I'll be live streaming Summit Pro Wrestling. Elephant Ears and Elbow Drops is the name of the show. It's going to be at the Hancock County Fair in Greenfield, Indiana. They're doing 2 shows, actually, one at 3:30, one at 7:30. We'll be live streaming both those shows tomorrow on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter at Gonzo Sports Room and at the ASAP Sports Network. And then Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, we'll be in Danville, Indiana for Warrior Pro Wrestling 21. That show starts at 3. That'll also be live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter at Gonzo Sports Room and at All Sports All Plays Network. So we got a busy weekend of some live pro wrestling. So come join us for those shows. Also, like Jay said, Easy Money, a sports betting show here in about 15 minutes. We'll talk major. I'll give out picks for today's slate of Major League Baseball games and picks for this weekend's UFC Fight Night. I got some picks for that because that's about the only sports we really got going right now. Well, I know you got soccer and golf, but I already gave out picks for the golf the other. And neither one of my picks are but you had the leader in golf at 10 under after the first.
You need to invest yourself in soccer more, Chris, especially with the U.S. hosting so much stuff the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. I'm working on. I got a lot more into hockey this year, so I'm going to try to get more into soccer. I watched a lot of the hockey playoffs, and I caught myself starting to tune in to see when the game
Who's your team now, though? Do you have an official team? And don't say the Vegas team because that's your pops.
No, I don't have
your own team.
I don't have an official team yet.
I thought you said the Blue Jackets.
Well, that's who I picked at the beginning of the season just because they were the closest to me. But yeah, that's probably who I'll stay with. But yeah, I liked watching the Avalanche. I just started watching different teams, but I really don't have a favorite team. But I do like the Knights, watching them play, especially when they're at home because of the whole spectacle they put on the pregame show and everything. I think that's cool. But plus I watch a lot of Pat McAfee, and quite a few of them Vegas Knights guys have been on there getting interviewed, and they're pretty cool guys.
We're pretty cool guys. You don't want to hang out with us and the Stars?
I hang out with you every day.
No. I'm talking about the Stars. The Stars are pretty cool guys.
They're from Texas.
But Vegas is cooler because they won the whole thing.
Hey, I am mad at you, man. I'm telling you right now. Look, you got to stay in Texas. Hold on. You got to stay in Texas, and then you got everybody else. Like, you either like Texas or you hate Texas.
What's funny about that, why I said it, my family's from Texas. That's
hilarious.
I have family in Texas. Not as many now because a lot of them are starting to pass away, but a lot of my family lived in Waco.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Waco's not too far from where I live. I mean, it's maybe about a couple hours from where I live.
I have some family that lives in Dallas now. We did have a lot of family that lived in Waco.
Oh yeah, so can I make a quick not really announcement, but something news that just broke quick before I sign off because I got to get my son to basketball. But what I was saying about soccer, how you guys should start paying attention to the soccer world because of what the U.S. is going to be hosting. So in 2024, the U.S. is set to host the Copa America Championship, which is basically the North and South American battle. 2025, the U.S. has just been appointed to host the FIFA World Cup in 2025, which is going to be basically the teams in the U.S. battling the Premier League teams from Europe. And then in 2026, the U.S. gets the World Cup. So the next 3.5 years, the United States is literally going to be the soccer capital of the world for all these big tournaments.
Did they say where the World Cup's going to be held at in 26?
Yeah, Houston's got a venue. Dallas has a venue. Boston has a venue. Chicago has a venue.
Hell yeah. Now that I will go. I will go to the World Cup when they come to Houston. And that's not that far down the road.
And the Copa America that's in 2024. Houston also has a venue for that too.
Oh, nice.
But with the World Cup,
I'll be getting my toes deep in some soccer then. I will go see them.
With Mexico and Canada also being part of that 2026 World Cup, they also have a venue in Toronto, a venue in Mexico City, and then Canada's got 2 sites. So the United States has 5 of the 8 venues. Mexico's got 1, and then Canada's got 2. But yeah, in the next 3 years, it's going to be the soccer capital of the world in the United States, basically.
Well, there you have it, folks. As we get into some soccer.
Also, before we get out here, don't forget Monday, 9 a.m., Round the Bases, our baseball show. Be starting that back up on Monday. I think I've covered everything I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
Did we cover Dick?
Yeah.
Okay. Grady Dick, you're going to be the best punchline of all of sports. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Thanks for joining us. Please hit that follow on all of our social media, All Sports, All Plays Network, GonzoSportsRoom, Unscripted. But we appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday with another episode of the ASAP Afternoon Blitz. like Jay said, like Jay said and I said, Easy Money, a sports betting show is next here on the ASAP Sports Network and at Gonzo Sports Room here in just about probably 10 minutes or so. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all